U.S. national data about the experiences of deaf people as related to employment, earnings, and college attainment shows us a range of significant gaps in opportunities deaf people have. As deaf people, many of our systems of support are not consistent nor robust. We studied data from 2008 to 2018 to try to understand the change over time and whether there were any improvements. That data showed us some incremental progress. More deaf people are completing high school and college degrees, as well as getting jobs. However, these increases parallel with the same trend among the general hearing population. The gaps between deaf and hearing people in educational attainment and employment have held steady over the years. As the number of deaf people completing high school and college and getting jobs increase, we see that same increase among people who can hear. That means the disparity remains over time. Slow but consistent increase over time is important to acknowledge. However, unfortunately, it is not enough to achieve equity. The aim is for equity for all deaf people of color, deaf people with disabilities, deaf-blind people, and LGBTQIA deaf people. Reaching the goal of true equity requires a bit of a different approach, apart from the status quo. Those slow and small changes over time, while important, are simply not enough. Those Band-Aid solutions are not effective, so we must instead look to systems transformation. We're here today, hopefully, because we want to work on what we can do better, learn where we need to improve, and shift our mindset to the work of systems transformation. The barriers and challenges deaf people face are ingrained into our daily lives. They don't disappear once we reach a certain stage of life. Since the barriers are complex and embedded in the system, there is no simple solution or easy fix. These barriers and gaps in opportunities in education and employment do exist. National data shows us that those inequities are not a result of deaf people's struggle or failure to achieve, but are a result of structural inequities, structural issues, not issues or struggles caused by deaf people. The data we see shows us structural inequities that are deeply embedded in the systems that we navigate day to day. We must conduct a closer, detailed inspection on the system to work in our favor in order to push for change that would be sustainable over time rather than a one-time fix. Once people identify a barrier or issue, they provide a quick fix and feel an immediate sense of accomplishment. While these small one-time fixes here and there are important, they are just Band-Aid solutions that essentially cover up bigger foundational issues with more complex root causes. We need to be willing to step back and look at the bigger picture. In order to be able to see a bigger picture, we must turn to systems theory and systems transformation research to help us shift perspective and focus on system change. Traditional systems change approach focuses on policies and procedures, but when we look at the day-to-day operations of the systems, we see people. They are who make the system operate. So we have to look more closely at people because they are who will change and improve the system. People do the work of systems transformation. We also want to explore relationships and beliefs. What are our relationships with each other, with deaf people, with deaf communities, and other organizations? Next, we look at our beliefs. What attitudes and biases do we hold that affect our expectations? These are critical to achieving true systems transformation.
System research shows 3 critical components that are important to address in systems transformation: structures, relationships, and attitudes. All 3 must be addressed as a whole to achieve sustainable systems change. Allow me to elaborate as we touch on each component. The first portion is called systems coherence. This includes policies, practices, and resources. Policies generally tend to guide decision-making at all different levels, at the state, district, or institutional level. Practices are what people typically do day to day, the habits they have and why they have them. Practices can include procedures, guidelines, routines, and habitual activities. Resources include the people, knowledge, and information. Now, when policies, practices, and resources are consistent and transparent, it helps community members truly understand how the system operates. It helps community members also know their rights and have the ability to leverage resources that are available and beneficial to them. This also helps foster equity in systems and services. The second portion is called relational capacity, or RC. RC emphasizes communication, relationships, and power dynamics. RC helps us think about the roles and relationships in the organization itself and in partnership with other external organizations. Community engagement is also an important part of that and what it looks like for your organization. Feedback loops create opportunities for accountability, improvement, and progress checks as well. Strong relationships build trust in organizations and with external entities. It also sets the foundation for systems change in order to better reach your goals. The final component is equity mindset. The equity mindset frame encourages the view of the problems and issues that arise and those that come from the system, not from the people. Some of the structural inequities we see are the responsibility of the institution to address. Equity mindset also includes attitudes, beliefs, and biases. Those are very difficult to address and change because we can't always measure or even necessarily see them. However, systems transformation research shows that attitudes and biases are a critical part of a consistent systems transformation. This discussion is intended to offer a systems perspective to help you think about where to make improvements and changes within your own context. Whether it's your agency, organization, school, program, or etc. With your goals of systems change, it is critical to take a high-level view of how your system currently operates. Look at your structures, relationships, and attitudes within the system. How did those impact the day-to-day operations? Your strengths identified as well as areas of improvement. What can be done to make the most impact and long-lasting change? Policies, procedures, funding, and resources all play an important role. And yes, relationships. The deaf people we serve value organizational relationships and are affected by people and their attitudes and biases. To truly achieve equity for deaf people, we have to look at the system. Temporary fixes are not sufficient for true systems transformation. We can do more and we must do more. Thank you.